The first thing he did wasn't speak to me. He laughed. Loud, careless, the kind of laugh that assumes the room already agrees with you. Then he pointed, not subtly, not politely, straight at me like I was an object someone forgot to move out of the way. "I'll put $500,000 on it," he said, tapping the table for emphasis. This girl couldn't hold a real conversation in another language if her life depended on it. People froze. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. And right there under warm lights and expensive silence, I felt that familiar tightening in my chest, the one that comes when someone decides who you are without asking a single question. Yeah, that happened. I was 18, working a late shift at a restaurant most people save for anniversaries and promotions. I wore a uniform that wasn't really mine yet, and a smile I'd practiced so well it almost felt permanent. He was a tech investor, one of those guys who speaks like the future personally owes him something. He leaned back, looked me up and down, and said, "I mean, come on, look at her. You really think someone like that spent time learning anything useful? Someone like that." He said it casually, like it was obvious, like gravity. And maybe what hurt wasn't even the insult itself, but how comfortable he was saying it out loud. He kept going. Asked me if I needed help counting change, told his friends I probably memorized the menu by pictures. When I set down his glass, he snapped his fingers right in front of my face and said, "Hey, sweetheart, what's 4 times?" "4. Take your time." Laughter rippled. Not everyone laughed, but enough did. I remember thinking how strange it was that a room full of adults could shrink so fast into something ugly and small. What he didn't know was that while he was performing, I was listening. Not just to him, but to everything. The accents, the side conversations, the way people talked when they thought no one important was paying attention. I'd spent most of my life listening like that. You learn things when you're invisible. You learn how much people give away without realizing it. The turning point wasn't dramatic. There was no music cue. He switched languages to impress the table, started explaining a deal, mocking me as he did it, assuming I was just background noise. And I understood every word, all of it. The insults, sure, but also the mistakes. The numbers that didn't line up. The clause he misunderstood. Something in me settled. Calm. Clear. Like the moment before you dive into cold water. I spoke. Quietly at first. Then steady. I corrected one of his assumptions, explained another option, pointed out a risk he'd completely missed. The language came naturally smooth, unforced. You could feel the room tilt. Conversation stopped. He stared at me like I'd just broken a law of physics. Someone dropped a phone. Another person whispered, "Is she serious?" He tried to laugh it off. Said I must have memorized a few phrases. So I switched languages. Then another. Explained the same idea 3 different ways tailored to 3 different cultural contexts, because that's how real communication works. His smile thinned. His confidence cracked. And for the first time since he opened his mouth, he didn't look entertained. He looked threatened. People started asking me questions. Real ones. About contracts. About systems. About things that don't usually get asked of someone holding a tray. I answered because I could, because I always had. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same voice that mocked me minutes earlier now struggled to keep up. Eventually, he snapped. Pulled out documents. Challenged me. Publicly. Loud enough for everyone to hear. "Fine," he said, "if you're so brilliant, prove it. Right now." He thought pressure would expose me. He didn't realize pressure was my normal. Pressure was why I worked 2 jobs. Pressure was why I learned on buses on breaks at midnight when the world finally shut up. I went through his material line by line, pointing out errors that could cost him everything. Not with anger, not with revenge, just facts. Clear, clean, undeniable. By the time I finished, the room wasn't watching him anymore. They were watching me, and he knew it. You could see it in his jaw, the way his hands clenched. Power doesn't like being taken quietly. What followed wasn't applause right away. It was something better, silence mixed with respect. The kind that forces people to rethink things they didn't know they believed. And that's when I realized something important. Winning wasn't humiliating him. Winning was refusing to become what he expected. But here's the part people don't like to talk about. The win didn't end the fight. It started a new one. The whispers came fast. That I was arrogant. That I'd staged it. That I'd gone too far. People who never spoke to me suddenly had opinions about my attitude, my tone, my place. Funny how confidence looks different depending on who's wearing it. I went home that night exhausted, replaying everything, wondering if I should have stayed quiet. Wondering if being right was worth the cost. And then I remembered every time I'd swallowed words to make someone else comfortable. Every time I'd been underestimated and let it slide because it was easier. That night, I decided I was done shrinking. A few days later, something happened that erased any doubt. A medical emergency in the restaurant. Panic, confusion. A family member pleading in a language no one understood. Seconds mattered. I stepped in, translated, clarified, explained. The right decisions were made because the right words finally reached the right ears. A life didn't end that night, and I'll never forget the look in that family's eyes when they realized someone had truly heard them. That moment traveled faster than the insult ever did. People shared it, talked about it, argued about it. Some said I was a hero. Others said I was lucky. But luck doesn't explain years of preparation no one sees. The man who started all of this eventually reached out. Different tone. Quieter. He admitted he'd been wrong. Not just about me, but about who gets to be taken seriously. I didn't forgive him because he apologized. I forgave him because I didn't want to carry him with me. So here's why I'm telling you this. Not because it's inspirational. Not because it wraps up neatly. But because it's uncomfortable. Because someone watching this has laughed like he did. Or stayed silent like the others. Or been on the receiving end and still feels that tightening in their chest. The question isn't whether I deserved respect. The question is why it was conditional in the first place. Why we keep tying intelligence to appearance, worth to status, voice to permission. Think about the last time you dismissed someone before they finished a sentence. Or assumed you knew their story because it fit a pattern that felt familiar. If this made you defensive, good. If it made you angry, even better. Say why. Comment. Argue. Tell me where you think I was wrong, or where you've seen this play out in your own life. Because these moments don't change anything if we only clap and move on. They change things when we're willing to look at ourselves and ask who we've been ignoring. So yeah, talk about it. Share it. Push back. Or just listen a little longer next time someone you didn't expect starts to speak.